The house she tried to steal. I never imagined that the house Jake and I had built together, the very symbol of our love, our dreams, and our life, would be taken from me by someone I once called family. But Vanessa, my sister-in-law, was always jealous of Jake's success and our happiness, and after his tragic death, she seized the perfect opportunity to strip me of everything. When Jake passed away in a car accident, my world collapsed. The days following his funeral blurred into each other, a never-ending cycle of sorrow, disbelief, and numbness. The house, once filled with laughter, now felt empty, echoing with memories of a life I would never get back. I spent hours sitting in the living room, staring at the walls Jake had painted himself, remembering how we had picked out every piece of furniture together. To me, it wasn't just bricks and mortar, it was where we had built our dreams. Vanessa, Jake's older sister, initially appeared sympathetic. She came over frequently, offering help and emotional support as I tried to navigate life without Jake. "You're so strong," she said to me one afternoon, her voice full of false concern. "I don't know how you're managing everything." I took her words at face value, grateful for any comfort during such a dark time. But Vanessa's visits soon took a different turn. She began commenting on the house, subtly at first. "This place must be expensive to maintain, especially now that it's just you," she mused. "I can't imagine how much the bills must add up." I brushed her off, not wanting to think about the financial strain. The house was my last connection to Jake, and I wasn't willing to give it up, no matter how hard things got. Over the months, Vanessa continued to visit, always bringing up the house in one way or another. "You know, it's a big place for just one person. Have you thought about selling? You could move somewhere smaller, something more manageable." I didn't want to hear it. The idea of selling was out of the question. How could I part with the home that held so many memories of Jake? The kitchen where we cooked together, the garden we planted, the living room where we spent hours watching movies. It was all too precious to let go. Then one day, everything changed. Vanessa arrived at my door, not with her usual sympathy, but with a cold, businesslike demeanor. "Lucy," she began, her voice icy, "there's something I need to discuss with you." I frowned, not sure what to expect. Vanessa stepped into the living room, and I noticed a stack of papers in her hand. "What's this?" I asked, my voice uneasy. "These are documents outlining my legal claim to the house," she said flatly. "Jake had some unresolved debts, and since I helped him with those debts, I'm entitled to part of the property." My heart sank. "What are you talking about? Jake never mentioned any debts." Vanessa's eyes gleamed with something close to satisfaction. "It's all here," she said, waving the papers in front of me. "He borrowed money, and the house was used as collateral. Now that he's gone, I'm owed my share." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jake had been so careful with our finances. How could he have gotten us into such a mess without telling me? But Vanessa was insistent, and I, still reeling from Jake's death, didn't have the strength to fight her. She laid out her plan in cold, legal terms. Either I would sell the house and give her her share, or I would be forced to vacate the property. The betrayal cut deep. Vanessa had pretended to care for months, all the while scheming behind my back to take the home Jake and I had worked so hard to build. I felt helpless, caught in a legal nightmare I didn't fully understand. Things escalated quickly. Vanessa began sending formal letters, threatening legal action if I didn't comply. She hired a lawyer who sent me notices demanding my departure from the house. Every time I saw her, she'd make some snide comment about how it was only a matter of time before she took full ownership. It was as if she had been waiting for this moment, relishing the chance to take something that wasn't hers. Soon, the eviction process began. Vanessa showed up with movers one day, telling me that my time was up. "It's nothing personal," she said, her lips curling into a cruel smile. "It's just business." I stood there, watching as strangers carried out my belongings, feeling like a guest in my own home. Vanessa looked on from the doorway, arms crossed, her face expressionless. I had never felt more defeated. All I could take with me were a few boxes of clothes and personal items, leaving behind the home that had meant everything to Jake and me. I had nowhere to go but my parents' house. They welcomed me back with open arms, but I could see the anger in my father's eyes. My mother tried to console me, but there was little she could say to ease the pain. I had lost my husband, and now I had lost our home too. Every night, I cried myself to sleep, wondering how things had gotten so out of control. But my father wasn't the type to sit by and let things happen. He was a man of quiet strength, someone who always found a way to fix problems, no matter how insurmountable they seemed. For days, he said nothing, but I could tell he was working on something. Late at night, I'd hear him talking in his study, making phone calls, gathering documents. I didn't ask him what he was doing. I was too lost in my grief. Then, one evening, he called me into his study. "Lucy," he said, gesturing for me to sit down. I sat, still numb, and watched as he placed a thick file of papers in front of me. "What's this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "These," my father said, "are the original deeds to your house, and according to these, Vanessa has no legal right to any of it." I stared at him in disbelief. "What do you mean?" "Before Jake passed, he refinanced the house using our family trust," my father explained. "The trust owns the property, not Jake. That means Vanessa's claim is completely invalid. She's been bluffing the entire time." The weight of his words slowly sank in. Vanessa had been lying, manipulating me into believing she had a claim to the house, when all along it was still mine. Tears welled up in my eyes, but this time they were tears of relief. "So, what happens now?" I asked. My father's eyes hardened. "Now, we get your house back." Within days, my father had taken legal action, filing papers to void Vanessa's eviction and reclaim the property. Vanessa, shocked and furious, tried to fight back, but she had no ground to stand on. Legally, she had never owned the house, and the court ruled in our favor almost immediately. The day Vanessa was forced to leave was one I will never forget. I stood in the driveway, watching as she packed up her things, her face twisted in anger and defeat. "This isn't over," she hissed at me as she climbed into her car, but I knew it was. She had no power left. I stepped back into my home, feeling an overwhelming sense of peace wash over me. The house still held the memories of Jake, still carried the love we had built within its walls. Thanks to my father, I hadn't just regained my home, I had regained my sense of self, my strength. Vanessa never tried to contact me again after that. She had lost her battle, and with it, her ability to cause me any more pain. As I sat in the living room that evening, the sun setting through the windows Jake had installed himself, I felt his presence with me. We had built this home together, and now it was mine to keep. No one could ever take it from me again. After the sudden death of her husband, Lucy finds herself battling her sister-in-law, Vanessa, for the family home they built together. Under the guise of sympathy, Vanessa plots to take the house, claiming Jake's debts give her legal rights to it. As Lucy grapples with grief and betrayal, her father steps in with a shocking revelation. The house still belongs to their family trust, and Vanessa's claims are baseless. With her father's support, Lucy reclaims her home and discovers her own strength, proving that the bonds of family can sometimes be more powerful than betrayal